It's extraordinarily rare to see a top recruit in any sport go all the way down from a 5-star to unranked within the matter of a couple of years. However, it's not impossible. For some odd reason, it seems like when you see these big fall-offs, it only happens to high school basketball players. I think the main reason for that is the simple factor that high school basketball players, sometimes they can peak really early and then sometimes they can peak late. We've also covered stories on this channel where players go from unranked in their 11th grade season to all the way to a 5-star recruit in their senior year. On the flip side, you'll see a lot of these mixtape players get all this clout, hype, and attention at an extremely young age, and then by their senior year, it turns out they were really never that good. In today's video, yet again, we have another case of a player falling all the way down to a guy that nobody even talks about. This player was regarded by many without a doubt in their mind as the top center in the entire nation. On almost every single recruiting website, they had him inside of their top 10. You want to know the real crazy part about all this? People still didn't even think he was nowhere close to his potential. Many people thought in the years to come he could be one of the most dominant forces the high school level has ever seen. But however, things have went downhill very fast. So therefore, it leaves us with the question today: what really happened to Jahzare Jackson? What's good, y'all? Hope you're having a blessed day. Just want to drop by and say, if you're enjoying the story videos or the content in general and you still haven't hit that subscribe button, I don't ask much. All I'm going to say is, if you'd hit that button, it means a lot. Hope you enjoy the video. If you want any more videos, drop them down in the comment section. Now, without further ado, let's get into the story. Oh yeah, real quick, almost forgot to mention, if you have any recommendations, feel free to send them to me on Instagram, MattBeGreatYT. Good old Jahzare Jackson. I'm sure this is a name that most of you have at least heard of or remember. At the same time, it's a name that you haven't heard brought up in a couple of years. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple videos of him pop up here and there. Nothing like it used to be though. To get into Mr. Jah's story, you already know, we gotta throw it all the way back to where things started. As Jah was growing up, how do I put this? He was never the smallest of the bunch. He was always abnormally taller than his entire friend group and teammates. He didn't exactly come onto the basketball scene and start getting all this attention up until he was 13 years old. This was at the same time that Bronny James, LeBron's son, he was also starting to get his hype because they had this insane AAU high school team called the Blue Chips. Of course, Bronny was going viral for obvious reasons. Everyone wants to see how good LeBron's son is. On the other hand, you had another big time player going viral, and that name and player was Jahzare Jackson. He wasn't going viral necessarily for his performances on the court. I vividly remember that one screenshot that comes to my mind is when he was standing next to LeBron and he was taller than him. Remember, at this point in time, we're talking about a 13-year-old. LeBron's what, 6'8", 6'9"? The fact that in this screenshot, I hope I can find it, Jahzare Jackson is looking down at LeBron is ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie, Bronny had most of the attention. He arguably had the most attention any 13-year-old has ever received, but Ja wasn't too far behind. Everyone knew who Bronny James was, they're not dumb. They was trying to figure out who his teammate is. If you went to one of their games in person or watched one on YouTube, there's one player that stood out the most. It was Jahzare. It's not fair that you're having 13/14-year-old kids play up against a 6'8" grown man. This blue chip team, in my eyes, it easily goes down as one of the most dominating and the best middle school AAU team we've ever seen. They had a bunch of good players, don't get me wrong. I think Ja, though, he just tops off the cake and he's what cemented their legacy. I'm bringing up and talking about Bronny a lot so you get a perspective of how much hype both of these guys had. At the time, both of these kids were 13 years old, and this was also around the time frame where people saying it was reported that Duke and Kentucky already offered Bronny. This wasn't confirmed, however at the time there was a ton of speculations going around that Jackson was receiving a ton of interest too. I mean, let's not kid around or joke with ourselves. When you have a kid who's almost 7 foot in middle school, it's not only going to have high school coaches drooling, it's going to have college coaches drooling. I'm not too sure if you quite understand of how insane it was to see a guy that was 6'8" in middle school. I'm saying 6'8" to be safe. I also saw reports that he was listed at 6'9" and some had him at 6'10". To top that off, I haven't even talked about his game too much. What put the cherry on top of everything is he was actually really skilled for a big man. I'm sure some of you have went to your local park or maybe on your high school team. I know I had one on my high school team. We all got that big man who's 6'6", 6'7", but they can't even catch the ball and they have terrible footwork and feet work and skill sets. If you're a hooper, you know exactly what I'm getting to and what I'm trying to say. Most big men in basketball, I'd say 80% of them, yeah, they're big, but they're not even good. They just clumsy, man. You throw them the ball, they do one power dribble and kick it out of bounds. With Big Jaw though, it was a different story. You throw him the ball, he does a couple power dribbles. He was even pulling off spin moves at the middle school level. The dude was ahead of his time. I don't know if he was watching NBA 2K or what, but he was playing like a post player. Or not a post player, but a post scorer. My 2K players, you're gonna know what I'm referencing. Do I dare say that he was an unstoppable force? That may even be an understatement. I could go on and on about his game. He was flat out a monster at the middle school level. There was one question though that would linger going into the years ahead. That question was, it was fairly simple. Could he keep this up, or is he going to fall off, and will his peers, other players, catch up to him? Well, if you've been watching the story videos, I think you know where this is going. This is the part of the story where things start to go downhill pretty fast. For a guy that was regarded by many recruiting websites as a 5-star recruit and a top 10 center in his class, only a year or two later is nowhere to be found in the rankings. If you want to be a nerd and get real specific about it, it's actually 2.5 years. After their extremely successful middle school AAU careers, Bronny would make his way all the way over to California and play for Sierra Canyon. Going as almost far away as you can from California, Big Jaw Jackson made his way all the way over to Florida, playing for IMG Academy. And now this is where he has sort of gotten lost in the mix of things. When you're going to a powerhouse, and I'm talking about a powerhouse like IMG Academy, you're not going to play on the varsity team unless you're one of the best players in the country. They started out by putting him on their JV roster when he's arrived, and he's been there ever since. Here's what one of his coaches at IMG had to say about him. His size reminds me of Shaquille O'Neal. The difference is that Shaq was in college with that size. Jaw is only 16. In any case, we expect him to dominate this year and gain confidence, and we feel he's ready for that, but we don't want to put too much pressure on him because he's still young in basketball. We have to keep in mind, but we can't wait to see him progress this season. That was a great quote. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think he speaks for everybody. Not only we, but his coaching staff wants to see him dominate, and they expect him to dominate. At the same time, you can't put that much pressure on him, and you have to wait out the process. A lot of people forget, because he is so tall and big, that he's only going to be a junior in this next season. He's still got time. Has he gotten worse since his middle school days? No, absolutely not. I think he's polishing his game up even more. If anything, he's gotten better. So I know what you're more than likely thinking. Yo, Matt, why did he fall out of the rankings? What's going on? To answer that question, it's the answer that we've been giving a lot on this channel that I find we talk about the most. It's what I've been saying with Mikey Williams too. It's not necessarily the case and reason that Jaw Jackson or Mikey has gotten worse. It's more of we got to give credit to the players in their class. They've gotten better and they've caught up to them. The reason Jaw was looked at as this 5-star recruit as a middle schooler and going into his 9th grade year is because nobody could stop him. You couldn't say he wasn't a 5-star at the time. It wouldn't make sense. I am going to hold him accountable. I'm going to critique him on this. To be a guy who's now listed at 7 foot, to be as big as he is, strong as he is, there's no excuses for him to not be a at least 4-star, 5-star recruit. I'm looking at this as if he was my brother or my friend. There's no excuses. I gotta hold him accountable. He should be dominating the high school competition. I'm looking at this the same way his coach said it. I couldn't say it any better. We expect him and want him to dominate right now. At the same time, we gotta understand he's young and he's got a ways to go. We can't forget to mention, while he's also been at IMG, he hasn't exactly been putting up the best of the best numbers. He hasn't struggled, he hasn't shown out either. He's been on the JV team. It's really hard for JV players to get high up in the rankings or even get ranked at all. I wouldn't go as too far as to saying he's been struggling at IMG Academy. I am going to say that things haven't gone the way that he probably expected them to go. I never thought IMG was a good fit for him in the first place. Yeah, there's going to be good training. They're going to train him up and let him eat right. However, I don't think he's going to be able to shine on that team, and that's what he needs. He needs to play for a high school team that's going to feed him the rock. At IMG Academy, you got all these great players. They're not going to do that. Ironically enough, we literally talked about this in yesterday's video. It is apparently looking like that Jahzare Jackson is transferring to Vertical Academy. If you don't know who that is, let me explain. Vertical Academy is this new school. It's Lake Norman 2.0 that Mikey Williams' dad is creating, and it's going to be a AAU team that plays a high school schedule. This isn't confirmed 100%, but Vertical Academy themselves dropped the recent roster, and Jahzare Jackson is on it. Ja hasn't tweeted about this. I haven't seen Mikey say anything about it. I haven't seen anyone say anything about this besides Vertical Academy themselves. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume he's joining Vertical Academy, and let me start off by saying I think this is a perfect fit and a great move. I never saw him thriving at IMG in the first place. I think he needs a fresh start and a new place to go. Plus 2, with him joining Vertical Academy and being around Mikey Williams, is going to help him get back up in the rankings. Maybe he could get that 4th or 5th star. According to Rivals, I have seen that they have him as a 3-star. That's the only place that even has him ranked though. There's only one question left to answer. What's next? Is he going to live up to this hype? Is he going to be a big time college basketball player, maybe an NBA player, or is this another case of yet again another big guy who's not really that good? I'm going to be very blunt and transparent in this next statement. I truly believe, I mean this, I think Ja is a good basketball player, and I think he could make it to the NBA. I don't think he's a big man that's not good. Trust me, I've seen 7-footers that aren't skilled. This isn't one of them. He's talented. He even has a 3-point shot. He has good feet work. He can catch the ball. He can do a lot of things. I want to bring this up too. I have seen some people trying to say there's people and recruiting analysts out there trying to get him to play football. That wouldn't be that bad of an idea. However, I have seen that rumor being put to rest by Ja himself because he likes basketball the most. Whatever career he chooses to do, whether it is football, I don't think it's going to happen, or even if it is basketball, I think he's going to be just fine. Has he fallen from a 5-star recruit to completely out of the rankings? Yes. Is it that big of a deal? I don't think so. He's got time. I've heard coaches say the same thing for years, and that thing is, you can't coach size. You simply can't, and guess what? Ja's got size. Y'all know how I rock on this channel. If I think somebody's not going to make it or I think they're not that good, I'm going to speak my mind. I think he's going to be absolutely 100% fine, and maybe it was better all this attention died down so he can put in work behind the scenes. I also want to throw in there, he's an extremely hard worker. I've seen multiple video clips of him working one-on-one with trainers. He's not one of them lazy big man either. He'll put in the work. He runs up and down the court. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention this. Currently, as to when I'm speaking, he only has one Division I offer. That offer is from Tennessee State. Kind of disrespectful to me that he only has one offer. I'm sure he'll pick up more in the future. This video was way longer than I anticipated it to be. There was a lot to talk about though. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join that family. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a like for more. My Instagram is MattBeGreatYT. Shoot me a follow. I'm out, y'all. Let's be great. Peace.